And for the BSP, in the last hearing, Governor Espenilla, in the discussion about the penalties of the banks in relation to the charter of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, about a 30,000 per transaction, 30,000 per transaction, or 30,000 per day penalty, if you remember correctly.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and you did commit that you would make some submissions with regards to some changes that you want, that you wish, not only for the Bangko Sentral charter, but also for the anti-money laundering.
Mr. Chairman, on that point, we have, for the BSP, we have prepared recommendations for consideration of the Monetary Board and the Anti-Money Laundering Council, Mr. Chairman. We're just completing our internal process, but we'll be able to offer those recommendations, Mr. Chairman, as early as next week through the Anti-Money Laundering Council.
Next week?
And because
we won't hold you to the deadline, but or less indicative.
no, Mr. Chairman, what we will do is after the Monetary Board has cleared our recommendations, it will be submitted to the Anti-Money Laundering Council for its consideration as part of the set of amendments to be recommended for consideration of Congress.
I see. You make it pass to the Monetary Board first.
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Senator Enrile.
I was not here the last hearing, but is this 30,000?
Governor Espenilla, could you please elaborate?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The BSP was queried as to what are the limits in terms of the monetary penalties that the BSP may impose. I clarified, Mr. Chairman, that under the existing BSP charter amendment, BSP charter, we are limited by law to impose a maximum of 30,000 pesos per day per violation, Mr. Chairman.
What is the basis of the imposition of this maximum penalty? That is the upper part of the range, no, of penalty that you can exact. What led you to go to that limit, to the upper limit?
No, Mr. Chairman, I was just answering what is the limit.
No, I am asking you. You're a part of policy making, and you are suggesting a policy that you will have to exact the maximum penalty, and the question that enters immediately to my mind, what caused that?
Mr. Chairman, we suggested that there should be some review of the upper limit because, for example, in the situation at hand, in the money laundering case, for example.
Are you suggesting that the banking system has become deteriorated to such an extent that you have to exact the maximum penalty so that you can control the situation? Or are you suggesting that you have become so inefficient that you have to exact the maximum penalty in order to make your efficiency higher?
No, Mr. Chairman. The amount of 30,000 pesos per day in comparison to the size of the transactions is actually very small. And the context of that discussion, Mr. Chairman, was that one of the senators cited the large amounts of penalties that are actually being imposed in other jurisdictions. I was just responding to that, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
small, you said. But that is precisely the range. That range was intended by the government to exact severity in relation to exact situations, isn't it? That is the purpose of that from 0 to 30,000. That gradation is based on the severity of the situation according to the perception of the regulator. And I'm asking you now, since you are moving you have you have gone to the upper limit and probably you want to go beyond. Is that a sign that your system has become uncontrollable or that there is something wrong with your system?
There's nothing wrong with the system, Mr. Chairman. The penalty is meant.
Why are you increasing the penalties?
It is meant for those who violate the rules, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, if you are efficient and you can control the situation, you don't have to impose a penalty because everybody will be complying. Then, if your efficiency becomes deteriorated, you increase it over 0 until you reach the maximum range of 30,000. That is the limit established by law, by the policy formulators. And that is why I'm asking, what is the impelling reason for going beyond or to that upper limit and beyond, perhaps? Is that just an arbitrary decision, or is it based on a substantial cause?
Chairman, the amount of penalty prescribed by law is meant to be a deterrent to and to promote compliance with the law, Mr. Chairman.
Kaya nga tinatanong ko, marami bang hindi nagko-comply? Marami bang gumagawa ng kalukuhan? Marami bang hindi sumusunod? Dahil dyan ay ipinapataw ninyo yung pinakamabigat na parusa, ganun ba? O ito ay joke only, like some candidates are saying that they make jokes only.
No, Mr. Chairman, we recommend imposition of the maximum penalty when the situation warrants it.
Mr. Director, Mr. Bangko Sentral, bakit nga ipinapataw ninyo yung maximum penalty? Bakit? What is the immediate, primary, and effective cause?
When the situation is grave, Mr. Chairman, in such that there is a possible damage to the system or affecting the
so
institution.
you say because of the situation. Are you saying that the situation has become a little bit unwieldy, that you have now to impose a maximum penalty for violations?
No, Mr. Chairman, we don't think the system is unwieldy, but I think the situation warrants sanction to those who have violated the law, Mr. Chairman.
Well, the law is wise. It establishes a range from 0 up to an upper limit, depending upon the condition of the system. And that's why I'm asking you, as an administrator, whether you have reached that upper limit that reflects the efficiency of the system.
Mr. Chairman, I think the context here is 30,000 pesos compared to the asset sizes of the transactions is such a small amount, Mr. Chairman.
You are making excuses. I'm asking for a question because we are designing a policy.
Perhaps, Governor, could you explain the context?
I'll put it this way. Why not reduce it? You cannot reduce it because that will be illogical in relation to the situation, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have to apply, or the Monetary Board has to take into consideration the context of a specific situation in determining what amount of penalty to impose, Mr. Chairman.
No. We are establishing a policy. What you're suggesting is a discretion based on your judgment. The law must establish a rule, a guide. It's not yours, but it's Congress' prerogative to do that.
Mr. Chairman, there are implementing regulations in terms of assessing.
We are not talking
imposable
on implementing
penalties.
regulations. You are not lawmaking. We are the lawmakers. And I'm asking you, as a matter of policy, whether the situation demands that we increase the penalties, which shows that the situation has deteriorated, or that your efficiency has dwindled.
Mr. Chairman, the situation demands higher penalties, but I don't think the situation has deteriorated.
Why do you increase the penalty if there is no basis?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
I'm asking for the basis of your recommendation to increase the penalty. It's not just, you cannot just do an arbitrary decision for the people. It's not your decision. This is going to affect the people.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Ito masama sa atin eh. We are tending to become a government of men, not a government of laws.
Mr. Chairman, the basis for our belief that monetary penalties can be increased is the increased threat of money laundering activity to the country.
So why not increase it to 1 million or 50,000 at least?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we have recommendations. It will be up to Congress to decide on that, Mr. Chairman.
Even if the amount involved is only 1,000, you impose 30,000? Is that it?
Mr. Chairman, our recommendation is based on both amounts and also should be related to the size of the transaction, Mr. Chairman.
And you determine the gravity based on your notion of what is grave? Mr. Chairman, I do not want to belabor this. This is not his function. This is the function of Congress. Now, I am surprised. I only raised that question because we start to learn that we cannot deal with policy in this country on a whimsical basis. There must be a cause, a reason for us to adopt a policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Governor, when you make your recommendations, then make sure about the basis for your recommendations.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Charter, but also for the anti-money laundering.
Mr. Chairman, on that point, we have, for the BSP, we have prepared recommendations for consideration of the Monetary Board and the Anti-Money Laundering Council, Mr. Chairman. We're just completing our internal process, but we'll be able to offer those recommendations, Mr. Chairman, as early as next week to the Anti-Money Laundering Council.
Next week, of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, about a 30,000 per transaction, 30,000 per transaction or 30,000 per day penalty, if you remember correctly.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and you did commit that you would make some submissions with regards to some changes that you want, that you wish, not only for the Bangko Sentral.
And, because,
we won't hold you to the deadline, but or less indicative.
No, Mr. Chairman, what we will do is after the Monetary Board has cleared our recommendations, it will be submitted to the Anti-Money Laundering Council for its consideration as part of the set of amendments to be recommended for consideration of Congress.
I see. You make it pass to the Monetary Board first.
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Senator Enrile.
I was not here the last hearing, but
And for the BSP, in the last hearing, Governor Espenilla, in the discussion Yeah, in the discussion about the penalties of the banks in relation to the charter.
This 30,000.
Governor Espenilla, could you please elaborate?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The BSP was queried as to what are the limits in terms of the monetary penalties that the BSP may impose. I clarified, Mr. Chairman, that under the existing BSP charter BSP charter, we are limited by law to impose a maximum of 30,000 pesos